Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Welcome to Single Moms Doing It All. This is your host, Muriel Felous. And today is an episode that was inspired by a mom's question regarding her son, her 17-year-old son, asking if his girlfriend could sleep over. So I'm sure that she's not the only one with questions like that. It happened in my house that my son also had the same request. And I'll let you know how I approached it. And I'll give you tools so that you can make an informed and inspired decision. Inspired by your own wisdom and the wisdom of the universe. Before we start with that topic, I wanted to let you know that I'm starting something new. I came across some women who, although they were interested by what was available in the membership, the tapping sessions, very specialized on topics such as calming down after an argument, being a mompreneur and experiencing some guilt about it. What else do I have in there? Being confused about what to do. And that's kind of also related to what we're talking about today. But I'm also adding a specific tapping session about that sleepover situation. And that's going to be one that's going to be generic either for a boy or a girl. So they liked what I had in there, the meditations. I have some meditations about being assisted by your ancestors' wisdom. I have some meditations to create an inner sanctuary where you can visit every time you need to look at something in your life that is a little bit scary because you're afraid of your own judgment. That happens a lot. Most of the cases when people don't want to look at themselves, it's because they are carrying such strong self-judgment about an issue that they don't even go there. There is too much shame. So she wanted to know if she could have these tools available without joining the membership, because some people don't like to be in memberships. They don't like to commit in that way. So I am creating a store section on my website, and I'm very, very excited about it because I already have a library of tools that is available to my members. And if you're a member, you don't have to change anything because you'll still have everything available to you in the membership, and plus a monthly live coaching session / guidance session on certain topics. We always do something different. And this is your opportunity to come to me with your questions and get customized coaching on your specific issue. So that will still be available to you as a member. That doesn't change. But I'm making everything available for purchase as a one-time thing. Even the monthly coaching, if you don't want to join the membership but you want to be part of a monthly coaching because the topic is relevant to you, you'll be able to do that too. So that's the announcement for today. Like I said, I'm very, very excited. I was actually, it's funny, you know how I always tell you that what I'm talking about in the episode is usually very relevant. That same lesson or that same topic is usually very relevant during the week when I record my episode. Well, this time I was getting the guidance to start a store about a month ago, and I started, but the pressure was not on there, the fire was not under it, but I felt it, so I started. And then that woman came and asked me that question. So I said, okay, I was on the right track. And now it became, I wouldn't say urgent, but it became of the moment, a topic of the moment, a project for the moment. Another thing that I wanted to remind you today, because I always forget to do so, is that if you like the podcast, if you benefit from it, please share it with your friends, with the moms that you know, and come and review and rate it on iTunes. This is the way that I will be able to reach more people and to help more people. So I would love if you would do that. And last, remember that you can submit topics. You can ask questions because like today, the episode comes from a question for me to discuss in the topic and to approach in the Facebook group, because I'm going to do something related to this topic in the Facebook group this weekend probably. I will record a meditation to get in touch with your inner guidance regarding the topic of having the boyfriend or the girlfriend of your kids coming to sleep over, because we have our answers. We do. We're just getting in the way. That's why we can't access them, because there is too much emotional disturbance to be able to access our inner guidance. And I know that people love when we do inner journeys or meditations or sacred journeys, however you want to call them. I also alternate with the names based on how I feel. Lately, I love to call them sacred journey, because we really get in touch with the wisdom and the assistance of the universe, of God, of Source. We tap into the field, the infinite field of wisdom and love. We really can connect with that through our true self, because we are part of that field. So I'm going to do that in the Facebook group. If you're not part of it, this is under the same name, Single Moms Doing It All. And I must let you know that there are a few fathers in there. So if you are a single father and you like what I'm talking about and you want to take part in those meditations that I share and the other tools, join the Facebook group. I'm also going to have a guest. I started having guests about 2 months ago. Coming up is a firefighter that I interviewed, and the interview should be published in the next few weeks, because this is a very, very inspiring story. I interviewed him on his childhood and teenagehood, when he was really going crazy. So that's for all the moms out there who are losing hope because their kids are acting out, their kids are a little bit too experimental, a little bit too adventurous, a little bit too rebellious. I want to find people to inspire you to keep hoping, to keep doing whatever you can, because the impact can be felt. And he went through a very bold and story that could have ended up in a very dramatic way. So that's coming up for you. And he's going to be one of our guests in the Facebook group, because he's going to take you on a demonstration and practice of an NLP tool. So that's what I wanted to share. Don't miss out on that. This is resources for you. So that's it for today's announcements. And let's all take a deep breath to anchor ourselves in this beautiful moment. So inhale presence and quiet. And exhale anything that is not pertaining to this moment. So what to do if your son or your daughter is asking you if the girlfriend or the boyfriend can come and sleep over? If I was asking you that now, what would be your first answer? So there are three scenarios. Absolutely not. I've heard that from some moms. Other moms would say yes with certain conditions, and that's my position, by the way, and I'll tell you what the conditions were in my house. And the third one is, oh my God, I don't know, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, there is no manual. What is in the best interest of the kid? What damage can it do if I don't, if I do? Confusion. So I'm going to help you today come up with your own answer. And to do that, I'm going to ask you to imagine that your kid was coming, your teen was coming to you to ask you that question. And that your answer, whatever it is, would never be known by anyone. If no one would ever know that you said yes or no, what would you answer? Let me tell you why I'm asking that. Because in some cases, we don't really know what we think about an issue or a situation, but yet there is the shame of society around us that will lead us in a certain direction. Let's say, for example, you live in a community where they're very conservative, and you wouldn't necessarily have a problem with the boyfriend or the girlfriend sleeping at your house as long as you were sure that they don't sleep in the same room. And you see, my cat is confirming as usual. So you're not really you're sure that they don't sleep in the same room. You put all the precautions in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. In my house, there were the sisters. So the girlfriend was sleeping in the room with the sisters, and all the rooms had doors open. Because I get up many times during the night, I wake up quite often, especially since my kids are teenagers, and you know the story. They were kind of acting out. There was a time where they were taking the car in the middle of the night until I discovered. And since that day, I started waking up at night to be sure that everything was the way it should be. So that were the conditions in my house. But let's say that you live in a very conservative community and that everyone is going to look at you sideways if you say yes, even if there is no danger, no problem that could arise. You won't do it because you're ashamed. And you don't want to be the target of gossips or negative talk or those ways that people would look at you. Because sometimes that's what will make us react. I know that when my kids were very, very young, I was having those discussions with mothers, and a lot of them would be very embarrassed in a store if the kid was going to have a tantrum. And I remember having discussions with moms who said they would spank so that the kid would stop. And for me, in my house, I don't believe in spanking because I find it humiliating, but to each his own. To me, it's not a solution. But I also didn't care if my kid was having a tantrum, and of course if it came out of proportion, then I would grab them and we would go back to the car and back home. But that frankly never happened. Let's say they would have a tantrum because they wanted something and I didn't buy it, I would let them have their tantrum without paying attention, because otherwise you reinforce the negative behavior. So there is a side of me that doesn't really care. And that comes from, well, I've never told the story of how I divorced, but I will write a book about it, so it will come out one day. But once you have been judged by people and by a whole community and you survived, well, it's like getting a vaccine. You're immune to this kind of stuff. And that's not to say that I don't care what people think about me. I don't really care a lot, because I know that I'm doing my best in everything that I do. I'm always in the direction of growth. I'm always trying to grow, and I really do my best. And of course, everybody makes mistakes, and we can make amends if we do stuff that are not cool. But sorry, in general, if you do your best, if you are aligned with what you do, what people think have less of an impact. So ask yourself, would your decision of yes or no be based on an internal alignment with your truth, or based on how you would be perceived by your surrounding? Because that's crucial. And that's not fair if that's the factor that's going to lead you to a yes or no. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to your kid. Now, on the other side is the alignment with truth, with the realistic picture of what's going on, and what expectations, what values do you have. I know that for some families, I've seen that as long as the mother knows or the father knows that the kids are safe and they're protected, they don't care if they have sex. And that's their values. I mean, they're 17, they know that the kids have sex at this age, and as long as they're safe, it's not a problem for them. Where do you stand? What do you believe? What is important to you? What do you value? Maybe you never really sat and thought about it, because we don't like to think in those terms about our kids. We know that they could be sexually active, but maybe we don't want to think about that necessarily because it's weird. Well, where do you stand on that? Clarity and alignment with your own truth in your body, in yourself, is always the strongest position and the most impactful. When moms come to me, or when I coach one-on-one, and moms ask me, I'm thinking about doing this or that as a solution to the situation that's going on, I always come from a non-judgmental approach, because it's their values. Of course, as long as there is no one that is harmed or hurt, and that there is no intention to harm. But your values are your values. I mean, in certain countries, there is way more freedom. In other countries, there is less freedom. Where do you stand? It is very important for you on that matter to know what, as long as your kids are safe, as long as you know, let's say, that there is no risk for unwanted pregnancy or disease, where do you stand? Are you okay with it? As long as there is mutual respect, are you not okay with it? Have you talked about it with your son or daughter? I told my kids always that no matter, and I mean, I don't push them to do this or that, but I try to avoid it as long as I could, because there are ages where it's really, really too early. But I always told my kids that if they were going to have sex, the most important thing is safety, as far as disease, as far as pregnancy, and to make sure that you are not pressured into it by someone else. To make sure that the other person is respectful to you. Those were very, very important points that I made. So where do you stand? And I would start talking to yourself, yeah, reflecting on that. Because that will come up, probably, the subject of sexuality at a certain point. Even if it's not about a sleepover, even if it's when they have a girlfriend and a boyfriend. And you need to be strong in yourself with your convictions, and you need to be fair to your teens, and you need to have integrity. That means integrity with what you believe, and integrity with, we said it, not giving to the pressure of the surrounding. And not only your surrounding, but to your teen too. That because if you're not solid in yourself, in your conviction, they will be able to push you in a direction that you may not want to go. We all have moments. I remember when my kids were younger, my middle daughter loved going to sleep at girlfriends' houses. And of course, I knew all the families because they went to a private school, and they. So I knew the families. I was part of the community. But because we didn't have family here, I also wanted to make sure that they felt that they were growing roots, because they started school with some kids I think they started school at 3, and they grew up with them until they went to high school. So it was almost like family. So I made room for my middle daughter to feel that she could grow roots in a community that was safe for her, with people that she loved, especially because we didn't have family here. But I didn't want it to be too much, because we needed to be bonding in here, in our house. And how could we do that if she was gone every weekend? So I had to have a balance. And on the days where I was not sure, she's super talented at pushing. She's super good at negotiation. And she would push me to a yes because I wasn't sure, when I wouldn't necessarily would have wanted to say yes. And I realized that after fact. But since I already had said yes, I didn't want to come back on my word, because word is very important in my book, Your Word. So, to recap what we said today, are you giving in under the pressure of your surrounding because of shame of being different, because of fear of being rejected? And on the other side, are you clear on what you really believe as far as having your kids invite a girlfriend or a boyfriend over for a sleepover, and about the possibility that it wouldn't necessarily happen in your house because you can take precautions, like I said, but about them having sex, where do you stand? Where are you what do you believe? What do you value? Because you need to be clear so you can communicate that to your kids. So I hope it helps. I hope it helps you lift the confusion a little bit. And if you're not, like I said, we're going to do a meditation this weekend in the group. And I'm creating a tapping session that you will be able to purchase either as part of the membership or on its own at singlemomsdoingitall.com. So until I talk to you again, I wish you a wonderful week. And I hope that you gain more and more clarity on how you want to parent, because it's very, very difficult already. If we're not clear, if we don't take the time to reflect and to feel, to know what we think about different aspects of it, it's going to be even more difficult, because confusion doesn't help. And it can even create like a state of inner panic. So I wish you peace and clarity. See you next time. Being a single mom can be challenging, but you don't have to face it alone. Join our community at facebook.com/groups/single and doing it all, and receive tools, tips, and free group coaching. And if you like this podcast, please review and rate us on iTunes. I would really appreciate it.